Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're in a new scene, got some interesting backdrop, and definitely got some interesting people with us today. So, you may recognize Joe and Katie. We've had them on before, but this is the FLRC robotics team, Army's robotics team. We got more members on today, and I guess you can call it the second episode of the series. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and hopefully we learn more about robotics and everything. Comment, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, bro.
Don't forget to look at the socials. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well if you'd like.
And follow our socials at 4FTC on most platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
All right, so there's no script today, but you guys have a lot to talk about, and we hopefully will have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, and they definitely have one big news item, I guess, we could talk about from last episode that occurred between these two episodes.
So we didn't have any fancy moment like Jacob and Isaiah's team did qualifying for state. I guess ours was kind of a big fancy moment, a little bit different. But we did end up qualifying for the state tournament, so that's exciting.
Not by launching a cone. That was not part of the plan, but we did it anyway.
We did launch a cone.
That was the talk of the day. We went up and were with other teams. And we're like, you guys are the team that launched a cone? Like they lost their mind, bro.
Care to elaborate?
Yeah, when did you guys launch a cone?
What is this?
Our first qualifying round. Literally our first round of the day. We shot one of our cones off and the other team's cones.
It's not worth the penalties.
We got some good range on that.
It was not worth the penalties. I did not suggest it.
It was done intentionally?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
A little bit of miscommunication, but still counts.
That is awesome. So, is there any changes you guys have made, like, moving into state now? Is there anything new your robot can do? Is there anything new you've changed with your guys' presentation?
So we made a new promote video, and now we're doing a stop motion video. So it's basically like just pictures compiled on top of each other. And so we're trying that for state instead of just like regular videos of people and like putting it all together.
Do you want to kind of elaborate on what the promote video is?
So the promote video is kind of like a video that you can put onto the internet and like promote first as a company. And so the prompt this year is, how did you learn about FIRST? And so in ours, we kind of go through how four family members started in the club, and then it just kind of expanded to 2FL teams, to an FDC team, and it just went on from there.
So that's exciting. We want to explore some new video techniques and possibly animation in the future. But the video was definitely a challenge. Me and Whitney did that like Saturday night for like 5 hours. Is this even gonna work? We had the tripod taped to the ceiling. It was an adventure.
That's awesome. I know last time that Joe was on, he talked about some things that he was trying out, some struggles and adversity he had to overcome. Any updates on that?
So, I don't even remember what I had done then. I think the camera we had done and working, but I don't know if I had it programmed yet. But that works now, so we can you have to read this cone that's starts out in front of your robot, and then you drive and park in a certain area depending on the orientation of the cone, and they randomize, yeah, here it is, our orientation. So they randomize it at the start of the match after you've already selected your program, so your robot has to be able to determine which one it is based on the orientation, and then it has to park in the right spot. Now we're working on getting this programming library called Roadrunner to work. That is basically just a list of certain commands that you can do, and it's supposed to make it easier on the end. In the end, it's easier, but getting all set up is not very easy. So that's been definitely a struggle.
Is there anything else that you guys have changed with the robot since?
Yeah, I think I can see one thing new. You guys throw a counterweight on there?
So basically this front wheel would, when we ran it just by itself, it would spin and not even move the robot at all. You can see where we burned out the mat a little bit out there trying to run it. So we put this weight on, so now it should hopefully stay in contact with the ground the entire time. So.
sure. That's useful for sure. I don't know if you guys can see it, but back here, we actually got, this was a robot me and Isaiah made, so.
We talked about it on the last episode.
Yeah, so this was actually the robot on the last episode that we said had an absolute jet engine.
Yes.
Oh, that thing roared up and got loud. But they've slimmed down a little bit this year. A little bit more sophisticated looking, I guess. You want to call it that. Sorry.
It definitely looks a lot more like when Jacob and I first went into FTC, we were like in awe about how like slick and like just professional every robot looked like. And our first year was a box with wheels and a hook. And really, I mean, we kind of grew into something a lot more complex, I would say. But we never had something like this. Like, this is a whole new level. This is sweet. Peep the awards, by the way.
So what are you guys most looking forward to at state?
Winning.
Oh boy.
Well, after that, of course.
I think I'm most looking forward to seeing a lot of the teams. We have built quite a few relationships. As for like Coldwater's team, we just had another scrimmage with them this past week, and we helped them with their community outreach a couple weeks ago. So that's really exciting. We will work with them with our scouting, and then, you know, just seeing some of the really good teams like RoboKai, RobotX, Juniper Robotics. I think, yeah, Nuts and Bolts will be there. I think they're the ones with like the golden pants or like the nuts or something like that. So that'll be exciting.
It is really kind of interesting though, because at the beginning of the year, most of us hadn't done it a lot, and we thought every other team was just like insanely good. But then once you get kind of going, you realize that most of the teams aren't a whole lot better than you. They've just been doing enough that they like know how to do everything. Like, I think especially next season, we have a very good shot at doing a lot better than we're going to do this season. I think we can get some improvement.
Yeah, and at our end of the year meeting that we had, and we talked about a lot of ideas for next year, and there's this like pilot study. It's like a new league. So basically, you'll have your 3 qualifiers still, but you'll have like 5 more scrimmages.
You'll have 2 qualifiers, but then the scrimmages will all count as one
Okay.
of the 3 qualifiers.
But in order to do that, we would have to have a robot done by like October, and we usually shoot for like the first week of January. So we'll definitely have to start our season a lot earlier, but it would be nice. As for our mechanical design and our programming, we did get judges' feedback, and those are some of our weak spots. So it'd be really nice because we wouldn't have to do the judging portion. It would strictly just be robot, and we only need like 4 or 5 people to come along for the ride. We would have to put in a lot of hours. But we talked with Judge, and they feel like that's like the right direction for our team, so we're going to figure out where's our next step after the season's done.
Yeah, when me and Isaiah were judging, we had one team that talked about how beneficial the pilot league was for them.
Yeah, they gave them a lot of brownie points. I'm not gonna lie.
For sure.
And then for that also, you have to actually host a scrimmage too.
Yeah.
Oh,
You have to host one.
Yeah, so that
Of
would be one
the-
thing we would have to figure out how we're going to do that, how
Yeah.
we're going to get a scrimmage host.
Try to do it at like the elementary school.
Yeah, it'd just be weird because we're not through the school. Some teams are through the school, so it's not that hard. But we're not through the school, so it'll take a little bit of work to get them to agree to let us do that.
Yep.
So you shouted out a few teams when you were mentioning state and stuff like that. How has your guys' collaboration been throughout the season with like all these other teams?
I would say the first competition we kind of no clue what to do. A couple years of COVID, so it's all been online. But I think it has grown a lot within the last 3.
We don't really have anything to go off of because we didn't really do any in-person qualifiers and stuff. But in my opinion, I think it's went really well. We've made a lot of connections with many teams. So.
At the end of last year, we made a Snapchat group chat with, I believe, the Walpop qualifier. It was like a scrimmage. And we had those connections with like Van Wert and some of the local teams, but we went really deep into it this year, working with the teams. It works to your advantage if you use it the right way.
Absolutely. I know our first and second year, we were in contact with loads of people, like within the league, but like different teams, just trying to help us out and figure everything out on our end, just to like have a functioning robot for a competition. So, have you guys worked with any of the teams, like help them out with like a robot, or like just like even like communication wise, like back and forth, or vice versa?
So at Sylvania, there was this one team, our first or second round, that we kind of helped them get set up and learn some of the rules. Not after the fact, like we haven't been helping any of them like during the season. We would be open to that, but like it just hasn't come up. So
We also helped a team by giving them a
we didn't-
control hub.
We didn't, okay.
Well, we tried to.
Yeah, there was an option, so we wanted to get another control hub so we could get another robot put together. So we'd have like two, like one to like test out and stuff. But we ended up, you could like, they sent an email to people that already had one saying like, there's not a lot, so would you guys be willing to put your order on hold so another team that can't compete can have one? So we said we would. So.
Very nice, very nice. So I guess one thing I wanted to do to get everyone involved, could each of you either, I want to go through like the best thing you've learned throughout the year, your favorite thing you've contributed to the team, or like your coolest experience of the year so far. All right, now we can see ourselves. Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Our tech man had to help a little bit.
I'm not only the camera guy.
All right, yeah. So I mean, I'll start, I guess.
Our favorite contribution to the team.
Yeah. Well, I think I asked like 3 questions there, but you can pick whatever one.
Okay.
Me and Isaiah can start if we want to.
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing this year is actually going to be a team from Army Robotics going to state, qualifying, and now actually going. So that's awesome for me.
I think mine, like I kind of already touched on it, but like this thing looks sick. It looks awesome. It looks very professional, very sleek. It looks like it's made to win. That's my favorite thing.
So one of the things I liked about this year was actually going out to the competitions, because this is my first year on the FTC team, and I think meeting a bunch of the new teams I really liked. So
Yeah, for me, my very first year was in person, and then it went to COVID. So my favorite thing about this is actually going back out into talking to people and talking with other teams.
So this is my first year as well, and I actually joined a little bit late in the season. So I guess my favorite thing would be working with other people and learning the dynamic of how the team works and how they work too.
My favorite part is just like collaborating with all the teams, getting to know them, and like just ultimately kind of like getting down strategy and learning how like we could improve it all the time.
You go.
Okay. I don't know. I liked building our robot and talking about the teams I enjoy, talking about like strategy, what we're going to do for the round, and even just in general, sharing stories of how we dodged around a lot of rule breaking. Like it's probably more than most of the other teams that are going to be at state. There's some really weird rules that we didn't even know until after the fact that they let us off the hook of not getting a penalty. But I don't know. I like talking with other teams. It's pretty fun.
I would say also talking with the other teams, because they're like all high school students and kids. Like they're not these like professional like robots, and everything they say is scripted. So you have really relatable stories. They'll be like, yeah, we stayed up until like 2 a.m. last night rebuilding our entire robot. We're like, yeah, been there, done that. But I also liked, this year I felt like we really broadened our horizons. We did a lot of things that we haven't done in the past, like the webcam. I don't think we've ever had sensors on a Fort Laramie robot as for FTC's case. And then like our scouting, we used to just do the papers and talk to the teams, but we have that all electronically now. The stop motion video, we've done one in the past, but I don't think that was on Adobe Premiere Pro.
Yeah, it was.
I think
Was it?
The ring near we did the stop motion from out.
It's still really fun.
I think it was on Adobe Premiere Pro. I'm not sure what Anna used. I think it was Adobe Premiere Pro though. But
never made a Lego version. That was a whiteboard writing, so that was still fun.
Awesome. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm ready to see this thing move.
Yes. Yeah. So
I would love to. So
yeah, so right now, I guess if you're listening to this on Spotify, we're still going to have commentary and everything over. But if you're watching it on YouTube, we are going to kind of switch things up a little bit. We're going to move the camera and just set a few things up. And we're going to have these guys drive as well as commentate over what the robot's doing so you can actually see it perform a little bit. So hopefully, if you listen to the last episode, you know some components of the robot, but now you're going to be able to see it and hear it. So we're going to come right back with that. So we'll see you in a sec.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second segment of this one.
Yeah, so we're going to have some commentary over here, move the robot around. They're going to teach you everything you need to know. So enjoy.
So we'll have Joe and Ethan will be driving the robot off the screen, and they're just going to show us the basic movements of the robot. Correct? Okay. So Ethan will be controlling the claw mechanism and the lift, and then Joe will be controlling... Okay, my bad. Opposite. Ethan will be driving the wheels and the chassis. That was probably my bad. And then Joe will be controlling the lift and the claw. And then they're just going to kind of show off what our robot can do, and I'll explain how the game is set up. So there's a total of 2 minutes and 30 seconds for one match, and there are 4 robots in the arena. So as you can see, there's the red and the blue. So you have 2 teams, the Red Alliance and the Blue Alliance, 2 robots for each team. You start in one of the corners for each of the matches. You have 30 seconds for an autonomous, which is a pre-programmed portion. You won't have drivers to that portion. You're not allowed to touch the controllers. And there's specific point-based things you can do in auto. And then you'll have a minute 30 for teleop. And then 30 seconds for endgame. So basically, endgame, there's just more point-based value things in endgame.
It's the same.
Yeah. Well,
Endgame is the same amount of points as Drive Control and Thomas. It's basically the same.
yeah, it just has like the circuits and stuff that it's kind of crunch time to get done. So yeah, we're just going to show you how our main mechanism works. Really easy, simple design. We have a very compact robot with mecanum wheels, and basically the mecanum wheels allow us to go side to side. Do you want to show that off real quick, Joe? Ethan, do you know how to use the mecanum wheels?
Strafing.
Yeah, so it's called strafing. It allows us to go side to side so we can navigate the game mat easier. And then we also have a turntable. And we have encoders on there, so it goes to 0 degrees, 90 degrees, or 180 degrees. We recently made the switch and put the turntable on the driver that is controlling the wheels, so the communication's a lot better. It was kind of hard having someone turn the turntable and then the other person turn the wheels. So that's made our life a little bit easier. But yeah, our lift can go to all 4 junction heights. The ground junction, the low, medium, the high. And that's about it. We have a pretty simple design, and it's worked very well for us. So we're going to show you how a match is run.
Yep.
Run.
All right, so if you guys want to get it set up for your best autonomous, and Katie was talking earlier, you guys actually have an autonomous that works cooperatively with every 4 teams. Right?
So yeah.
Or each 4 locations that you could possibly be starting.
So since there's 4 robots in the mat, there's kind of like 4 designated spots you have to start your robot. I don't know if you could see it right here, but there's a blue corner. There's fancy words for everything. So this corner right here is called the terminal, and then this half triangle, this triangle over here is called a substation, and that's where the human player implements game elements. It's really confusing to explain, so we'll have a demonstration when we do this match. And it's really convenient. We only have to program 1 since it's compatible with all 4 spots. And yeah,
it won't seem like there's too much going on with one robot but when you throw 4 robots into this mat, it for sure gets pretty hectic. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
they have the video.
So Jay, what's the autonomous gonna do, man?
So, we are running the old one, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The old one's going to read the cone down there with the QR code looking things, and then it will drive to a certain spot on the map based on where the QR code tells it to.
So for this one, we're setting it to the first zone, which is you probably won't be able to see it real well on the video, but it's based on the tiles of the map. So it's this tile, these two tiles right here. If it was zone 2, it'd be somebody pointed out those two, and then if it was the third zone, it would be those two back there. So our goal for this one is to be in these two tiles right over here.
Are you ready, Joe?
Yep.
Okay. We'll count you off. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Runs into the wall. That's all right.
Okay, so as you can see, we had Zone 1 randomized, and it went into the Zone 1 spot. So this autonomous program would gain us 20 points. Autonomous programs are really important because it's the #1 tiebreaker. So if you were tied with another team based on win and scores, then it goes to which team has a better autonomous. So that's been one of our priorities these last few weeks.
Alrighty,
All
so
right.
we're
We're gonna move into driver control. Ready?
yep.
Go for it.
Okay, so
Okay.
as you can see, we had our preset cone. So usually our first thing for driver control is to
Okay, hold on.
place the preset cone. We are having a little bit of a malfunction choosing our program.
Starting the next one.
Yeah, knocking over that, moving those towers is actually 100 penalty points right there.
100 penalty points. That's all right. I think
So-
we're good now.
A new thing they have this year is the penalty points goes and adds to the other team's, the opposing alliance's score, where in past years it would subtract from your score. So that's been interesting because I'm not really saying it's allowing you to get penalties, but
They start on the
if you're up by enough, might as well just play dirty.
So what's the most penalties you guys have seen this year? Just out of sheer curiosity, because it sounds like a lot of wacky things can happen aside from that, and then actually.
No, yeah. So we moved our, I believe it was our tower, like 1 inch. It can only move 1 inch, and it's 10 points for each cone on the tower. So we've gotten that.
So there.
But like as we mentioned before, shooting the cones, you're not allowed to like do that. Touching the other team's robots, controlling more than one game element. So if you have 2 cones on your robot at a time, that's a penalty.
That was kind of rocking. That was awesome.
I know. It flipped over.
If your robot is kind of like sitting over a junction and not allowing another team to score on that junction, so it's probably like 5 seconds ish, then that's a penalty. But there's some margins of grace there, because if your robot shuts off and there's a disconnect and it's over a junction, then they won't give you a penalty because that's really not fault of your own. Oh, one thing, Whitney and Caitlin over there are demonstrating our human players, so that's a unique aspect because the people have an effect on how the game plays out. And if you like stick your head over the edge of the arena while putting a cone in, or if you put a cone in while the robot's in there, they obviously want to make it safe. You can get penalized for that.
Teams need a junction and then robots.
Yes, so if there's these black things right here, they're called the ground junction, so they're basically the lowest junction height. And if your alliance has a cone on there and the opposing alliance knocks it off, that's a 30-point penalty. But some teams actually have that as a part of their strategy. They'll go to the one right in front of your substation because that's where your robot gets the cones, and they'll put one right there so they can get 30 points from you knocking it off. Yeah, we kind of decided, I mean, if it comes to that scenario, we'll do it if we're like in finals or whatnot, but we kind of decided on the gracious and professional aspect to not do that because it's happened to us. It's kind of a pain in the butt, a little bit aggravating, but we also see why teams do it. It's really smart.
So I happen to notice you guys you're not stacking up high. You're just like going to everyone. Actually, I already know the answer. sake of the audience. Is there an advantage to doing that?
Yeah, so at the end of the game, your team gets 3 points for each junction you have owned, except for the beacon. You can have own your own team element that you created, and that's 10 points. But this is one of the strategies. We call it spreading, trying to own as many junctions as possible. Because as you can see, it's 3 points for each one, so it adds up really fast.
And there's a bonus right from connecting for corner to corner, right?
Yeah, so that's called the circuit, and ironically, unironically, our team name is the Circuit Breakers, but we didn't really put 2 and 2 together until the second qualifier, and we were like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. We're the Circuit Breakers.
Because a big part of the match is breaking
Yeah,
other
yeah.
teams' circuits.
We've had that for a while. So a circuit is 20 points, and it's kind of like connect the dots, connect 4. You want to make a path from your alliance's corner to corner. As you can see, they're colored. So, and then there's specific routes you can take that are like the shortest routes.
What's the most junctions you guys, what's the most junctions you guys have won in one single match, you know?
The most we've owned, or
Yeah, owned.
yeah, probably like upwards to probably like 8.
So you guys are saying using all this jargon with like the terminals, and then you have you said there's a junction.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a junction and circuit. So clearly the game component is huge. You guys talk about that.
Yeah, so every year there's usually a theme that's across the board on all the first programs. The name of this year's for ours will come to me in a little bit. FLL plays a lot more into the theme of it, since they have little Lego creations. It's like, I think First Energize. Maybe that was last year's. What's our theme name?
Explain this.
Power Play. Sorry
Power
about
Play.
that. Yeah, this is our team beacon, as we mentioned previously. So this gets us 10 points, and when you put your team beacon on, the other alliance cannot put anything on that tower, or they'll get penalized.
So it's guaranteed ownership of the junction.
It's guaranteed ownership, and that's super nice when it comes into play for the circuits. Because if the other team puts their beacon on your circuit, you don't get that circuit anymore. You're kind of screwed.
Oh,
So
that's smart, yeah.
you have to do a lot of strategizing. But yeah, with that theme, not gonna lie, at the beginning of the season we kind of just called them towers and the corner and the triangle, as I mentioned earlier. But once you get talking to the other teams, you have to talk with your alliances before the match to see what your strategy is. You pick up on the language pretty fast.
I feel like something that I did throughout our years was just like we had our nicknames for things, and the second we get to a competition, it's like we didn't even have to think about it. It's like a switch. I was like, yeah, we can place the blah blah blah, the hoo-ha, and the blah 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 every single time.
Yeah, whatever everyone else was calling it.
Yeah, I mean you just switch up right over.
That's something that happened with our beacon. In the past, they've had capstones and like team tokens, and on our half sheets that we use to talk to people, we even have it still on there that says team token. Like everyone just kind of calls it their own thing. It gets the message across though.
Well, I guess one more thing we'll finish up as you guys run out of cones and you fill up the entire map. We didn't actually really do a true timed match, but we got some good stuff in here. Is there any huge malfunction you guys have had throughout the year? During a match or post-match?
Yeah, so our very first qualifier, as you can see when they pick the lift up, they have kind of this like black thing. That's our wire management. And due to it being so long, we'd have to have like servo connectors, like extender pieces, and they would disconnect. So our claw would still work some of the times, but it'd go all the way up, it'd have the cone, and then it'd disconnect. And in our programming, we have it to set it to 0, and basically 0 is to open it. So we'd lift it all the way up, and it'd drop the cone. And then, yeah, we've had matches where it just completely disconnected, like the tire would run over the wire and pull it out.
Well, that's a big part of it, is fixing every problem you have, especially when you have a problem mid-competition, and
Yeah.
it sucks.
So we struggled fixing that during Van Wert, but a week's turnover, we went from second last to second place. And that was another thing. Being the alliance captains was kind of chaotic. So we worked a lot with our new strategy.
Well, as the robot waves goodbye, I guess we'll close off this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.